Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, and as the founder of the Bold Life Movement and a fellow coach for more than 7 years, I know the challenges that many of you face when launching or growing your coaching business. And I'm here to pull back the curtain on the coaching industry and help you overcome roadblocks to make the impact you were born to make. Each week, I'll be interviewing successful coaches from every corner of the industry to share exactly how they have managed to generate massive impact and income. From strategy to psychology, we cover it all. This show is presented to you by Transformation Academy, a global marketplace of courses and coaching certifications. So whether you are already part of our epic community or you're brand new to this show, if you're ready to learn what it takes to turn your passion for service into a profitable business, then keep listening. You are in the right place. Welcome back to episode 58 of the Profitable Coach Podcast. I am so excited for today's conversation. You know, it might be one of my favorites. The beautiful Shannon Clarke is someone that I've been connected to inside of a year-long mastermind that I'm a part of. And this woman just shines in every container that she's in. And I'm so grateful because we recently had the opportunity to meet in person at an event in Denver, Colorado with our mentor. And when I tell you that she channels straight up divine wisdom, I am not being hyperbolic. She is so good at what she does as a coach. And I have known for a while that I wanted to bring her onto the Profitable Coach. So I'm not even going to tell you what we talk about in today's episode because I just want you to experience Shannon's true magic on your own. So without further ado, please welcome the one and only Shannon Clarke. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I had to hurry up and hit record because, per usual, Shannon and I were just jamming on so many things. And I was like, this is really useful. We should be recording this. So first of all, Shannon, I'm so excited to be connecting. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on the show.
Yay. Okay, so I just want to dive straight in. Tell the audience, what is your new turn of phrase that we were just deep diving in and why it's so powerful?
We were just talking about underthinking because, we were talking about beginning coaches and the things that trip people up earlier in their coaching journey. And this can trip people up at all stages of the coaching journey. I've seen many people,
Totally.
and I'm sure you have, at various stages of the coaching journey, get completely sucked into overthinking and overanalyzing and questioning themselves and over preparing and just like getting in their own way. And so I was saying, I'm going to coin the term underthinking. Like, stop preparing, period. Stop preparing at all. We did not prepare for this podcast and it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I told Shannon I intentionally underprepared for this podcast because so much of Shannon's magic is channeled. We're in a mastermind together. To give people a little bit of context, we're in a year-long mastermind together, hopefully for another year. Did you sign up for alumni?
Yes, I did.
Me too. Yes. Okay. More to come on that. And so we're in a group chat where, to be fair, Shannon is like employee of the month, member of the month, attendee of the month, coach of the month after month. She just adds so much value. And it's actually insane to me that we haven't had you on the podcast yet because I feel like you're the person who adds the most value. And so much of what comes through you is like divine. It's just channeled. You just intuit what people need to hear. So on that note, I would love for you to share like, what is on your heart today that has been shifting lately in terms of your coaching business that people might benefit from?
Oh, man. Well, you're catching me in the middle of, not even the middle. I feel like I'm on the tail end of this hyper speed hero's journey. Maybe this is a quantum leap. I actually never know what a quantum leap even means, but maybe this is it. Except for the evidence of the quantum leap is not like the traditional measures that people will look for. So people talk about a quantum leap and they think, okay, I'm going to quantum leap into some new income bracket in my business, or I'm going to quantum leap into some new realm in my viewership on social media. Well, I have quantum leaped myself into liberation, internal liberation. And that will do more for me than any of the other things. So we both were at Living Brave Live, an event in Denver that Kimberly was talking about on one of her earlier podcast episodes. And I was not going to go to that thing. I was not going to go. I said, no, I'm not going. And then in the middle of the night, one night, I was like, okay, I think I'm meant to be there. I don't know why. And this is the part that we're going to come back to at the end. I did not know why I needed to be there. There was no tangible evidence that I was going to gain any specific business outcome. It was a business conference, but like I was looking at the speakers and I was like, oh no, I know some of these people and I'm in the mastermind. Like, what am I really going to get out of this experience? And even to justify it to my husband, who is a very rational guy, he's like not in the entrepreneurial realm at all. And he was like, well, if you want to go, like go. But, do you need to go? And I didn't need to go. And that was why I had said, I'm not going to go. But sometime in the middle of the night, my subconscious was like, you do actually need to go. I don't know why you need to go, but you need to go. And I went to this thing and I met you in real life and we got to hug each other's whole bodies and it felt so good. Like I can feel you in my soul, in every cell of my being. I like know what you are like in the world, like the space you occupy, the place in the world that you is just for you, like as we move through the world, if we're like displacing air just by being us and like we are just displacing air and it's so important to just be us. And it was a room full of 200 people taking up this perfectly shaped sized space for each of them. And I was one of them, what I had not anticipated, strangely enough, was that people would want to meet me. Like I thought about the people I would want to meet, but it never crossed my mind that they would want to see me. But there was a moment in the conference. So one of the things, like the night before, this is a very long story. I
love it.
I'm just going to talk. Because this is not even the beginning yet. I haven't even gotten to the good part. But, the night before I was going to the conference, I must have had what felt like 70 panic attacks, one right after the other. I don't even know what that was. My heart was racing. My thoughts were racing. And it was thoughts that made no sense. Like, Shannon, you're not pretty enough. Like all of these women, they're like gorgeous and you're not pretty enough to go. Your business isn't successful enough to go. Like, who do you even think you are to be in this space? These were the thoughts that were going through my mind that I know are not I'm not the only one who has these kinds of thoughts in the world, right? And it was terrifying. And I was also very concerned because I needed to catch an Uber to the airport at 3:55 a.m. And so my alarm was set and I was terrified I was going to miss my flight. And sure enough, I did sleep through my alarm and had only 10 minutes to get to the airport.
Oh my gosh.
Which was perfect because it meant that my overthinking was just done. You cannot overthink when you're late for something. I'm going to tell you that much. I just got to get up and go. So I did. I got up and I went and we went to Denver and there was a morning where it was like ice bath day. So, and I was really like, how is this ice bath thing going to work? Like I'm looking all nice in my clothes and am I supposed to wear my bathing?
Thought.
Like, I really freaking had no clue how this thing was going to work.
Christian told me, I was like, I'm so curious how this will all unfold. Women are like dressed to the nines. We had a whole webinar on like how to dress yourself for this thing and your most expression. Like, I had the same thought.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense. And I was like, okay. But I do love a cold plunge. Like I don't have an ice bath at home, but I live in freaking Canada. All our water is cold. So I was like, okay, on that day, I wore my bathing suit and the shorts that we got and the tank top. And I was like, I'm doing this ice bath business. And there were so many women who were terrified to ice bath. Like, and we were all there, like all body shapes, all sizes, all everything, right? And we were just there facing our fears together. And my fear of you're not pretty enough, who are you to be here, it just like completely disappeared as I realized that it didn't fucking matter, right? Like nobody is I'm not more worthy because my body looks a certain way. I don't need to have a body that looks like this or clothes that look like that or to be extra in order to be visible, right? To be seen, to allow myself to be seen. And it's an allowing of ourselves to be seen as online entrepreneurs that gives us the permission to actually do what we're meant to do and be who we're meant to be. And this was liberating as fuck for me. Are we allowed to swear on your podcast?
Yeah. This is an adult show.
Adult show. Okay. So that was one big, massive thing. Coming back and feeling like, whoa, I'd moved through this big portal. To put into context, my body has changed a lot. I'm 45. I'm in perimenopause. And my mom passed away a few years ago, and grief is not a kind teacher, a very relentless teacher. And my body has changed immensely in the last 3 years, so much so that I've never experienced her in this way. But I was unwilling to change what I look like because I felt like there was something wrong with my body. There's no, we all know the things. You can freaking go and exercise, you can eat differently, all the stuff. But I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to have to change because I felt ashamed. It's one thing to change because you want to. It's another thing to change because you feel you have to. And I didn't want to change because I felt I had to. So this
Shannon,
moment was
chills over and over.
Yeah, it was big. It was really big. It was really big. And coming back, I don't know, it just felt like every cell of my body felt comfortable in my body again. Didn't matter what my body looked like. It doesn't matter. Every cell of me belongs on this planet. And I just have more cells. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with having more cells?
Oh my gosh. I love you.
Yeah. So, you're crying.
So touching. To witness someone in a real moment of self-acceptance and the way that you coached yourself to that decision, all those decisions. I'm not going to change simply because I'm ashamed. I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up in my fullest. I'm going to be an example for some of these other women who are scared to get in the water. Didn't you go multiple times?
Yeah. I think I talked about going multiple times.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to go multiple times.
I was standing near you.
Only
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was so important. It was funny because I wondered later, did they know the ice bath would have that kind of an impact on people? Living brave. If you're not willing to actually plunge yourself into a pool of ice when every part of you says this isn't natural, that's really entrepreneurship. That's actually what entrepreneurship is. It's plunging yourself into pools of ice when every part of you says, this is not natural. Yeah.
And also doing it at an event, like a conference. Yeah. There were so many elements of this, which I don't even know if Shoshana and Christian, her partner who owns the cold plunge business, I don't actually know if they had thought it through to that level or if she was just like, this will be fun. This will be interesting. This will be unique, and yet it was profound on so many levels. It was uncomfortable for some people on so many levels, and it was transformative.
Yeah, it was. So I got back, and all of a sudden I felt like I had this massive clarity because I was no longer feeling afraid to show up online. Because my body, that's why I was not showing up the way I wanted to, because I felt ashamed of myself. And then, I don't know, that just everything changed. And then what happened next was bananas. I have been talking for a long time about wanting to live in the country, and I decided I was just going to go and look at a house. And I fell in love hard with this house in the country. And I have a husband and kids who are very content in our house here. But I was like, I need to go follow this through for myself. I need to go and find out, what this is all about. Why does my body want to live in the country so badly? And I went to this house and it was everything about it was perfect. I felt like my whole self was home. And I came back to tell my husband about it. And I was met with like his resistance. So you need to know a couple of things. We're a military family. We've moved a ton of times. And I have told this story to myself that I have sacrificed my dreams for dance, for my partners. And that's come with a lot of resentment. But to be met with resistance when it comes to my dreams, I never imagined what it would feel like to be him, strangely. Like I never imagined what it would feel like to be in his shoes. And this like tiny opening of compassion for him opened this window into curiosity and conversations that he and I have not had these kinds of conversations for years. And in the space of 2 days, 3 days after I looked at that house, 20 years of resentment just dropped away because I realized something super interesting, that I had been telling the story to myself that I've sacrificed everything, blah, 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 blah. Like I've told this story a lot to myself. And in moments where I feel like he and I are on other paths, I tell that story again. I realized I had not been telling the whole story. You know, we all talk about the stories we tell ourselves. And in entrepreneurship, that happens a lot. We tell ourselves stories about who we are not, where our business is not yet, who are we to be coaching, like all the shame that keeps us stuck in these stories that fuel our own self-doubt. Well, in this context, it was like stories that I was telling myself that kept me in this resentment loop for 20 years. I realized I had not told the rest of the story. The second half of the story of like every time we'd move, we'd go to a new place and we would have the best time of our freaking lives. We would spend 2 years in a whole new city and a whole new province and a whole new side of the country. And we would take every second of that opportunity to go and explore and meet new friends. And we've lived in beautiful places. And I never tell that story. I never tell the good stuff, like the end.
Yeah.
And this was mind blowing to me for some reason. Like, it's not enough to just ask ourselves, like, what are the stories we're telling ourselves? And can we tell ourselves different stories? But what are the stories we don't finish telling ourselves? What's the second half of the story? Like, there's so much more than the stories we tell ourselves. So this whole like quantum leap that I've been inside of is about, I have no idea why I needed to go to Living Brave and I healed my body shame issues. I had no idea why I needed to go see that house in the woods and I dropped 20 years of resentment. So, you know, what is that actually teaching us? It's the parts of life that are going to have the biggest impacts on our growth and development and evolution have nothing to do with logic. Nothing.
And the things we can't see or anticipate ahead of time, we can't premeditate or plan for.
No.
Yeah.
There's no way that I could have overthought. I have overthought this resentment thing for, again, 20 years, like thinking about it, telling the stories, wondering about it, reading Google things, all the things, you know. How many Google things have I read about resentment in relationships?
Okay, wait. I cannot go on without highlighting something. You went and did something that was like in your heart. You were met with resistance. And instead of being like, this is my perfect opportunity to lay the 20 years of resentment on him and be like, how dare you resist me when I've done all this for you? Instead of doing that, using it as like another nail in the coffin, you softened and you had compassion and you actually used that opportunity to see his side, which is so not normal. Like that is, to me, that is why you are so natural and gifted at helping people to see like the light and the truth beneath whatever their stories are, because you naturally just like found the light and the truth in that moment versus bolstering an unserving story.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That is true.
You're amazing.
To be fair, I did lay a little tiny egg of that.
but like
before I found the light.
Like a quail egg.
I was just like a tiny little quail egg of, oh, good. Like, will there ever be a time when it is my turn? And he refused to give me a direct answer. And that's the best part about life too. Like, life for the most part, the universe, let's say, isn't going to meet us back with the more evidence of our shit. You know, generally the universe is inviting us beyond. That's generally the truth. However, we can get in our own way when we are focused so hard on the affront that we were experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple other seeds that you planted that I would love to circle back to. One is I just want to be very explicit that yes, people wanted to meet you. When I saw in our group chat, you were like, F it, I'm going to come. I was like, it's in 48 hours. Like, of course you're coming. What are you talking about? I assumed you were coming. I was like, I was coming because I assumed you were coming. Like, I'm literally driving off Burning Man 5 days early, like by myself to fly to Denver for one day. Like, you better freaking be coming.
I'm so glad I did, because that moment of meeting you was so magical. You know, it was so magical. I didn't know you were at Burning Man, and I didn't know you weren't going to be there for the first day. And I kept looking around for you, and I was like, where's Kimberly? And then I think Emily had said something like, oh yeah, she's coming in late. And then when I saw you, I was like, you are here. The world is right.
I know. And it was such a bizarre portal too, because for me, at least, it was one day. So that was so quick to get time with so many people that I've connected with offline before the event.
Yeah.
And yet I was so trusting of the brevity, and I'm like, I'll talk to Shannon later. Like, this is just the beginning. Like, now we just have the physical imprint of each other. I don't need to stress that I'm not getting to drop in. And that was really special. And it actually, that takes me to the next thing that you mentioned, which was, often we think quantum leaps need to look like, you know, hitting a certain amount of revenue per month, or publishing a book even, or like getting a new job or getting a bigger house or whatever. And for me, I'm noticing a quantum leap in the past like 48 hours, which is different from the last time we connected. For context, Shannon and I had some voice notes going back and forth a few months ago, and I was kind of healing from a little bit of a heartache at the time, and I was just in my stuff. And then literally within the past like 48 hours, I had a relationship look like it's ending. Most likely we're going our separate ways. And my peace and groundedness around it, and this is an epic, man, like so wonderful. But my reaction to it feels like that inner liberation that you were talking about, where I don't need to hold on to old stories about a victimhood, or it always happens like this, or whatever. Instead, I'm like, no, I feel really grateful for our communication, for my way of communicating my needs, and the unfolding of it, and just trust, like you said. And your voice notes were really supportive of this as well, by the way. This or something better.
This or something better, yeah. Oh, wow. Exactly. Like, quantum leap, I don't know. Sometimes I even wonder if like quantum leaps are the wrong word, you know, because where am I leaping to? It makes it seem like there's somewhere else I'm going outside of me, that I'm like a passenger on this journey, versus like quantum liberation in the body is so much more profound.
Love that. Yeah, that's really beautiful. So one of the things that I love, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, I'm sure you've heard him through our mentor.
Oh, yeah.
Big fan. One of the things that he says in 10x is easier than 2x is this concept of not seeking anything from a place of needing, not creating anything from a place of needing, only go after what you want because you want it. Like, let it not make sense, right? And so when you were saying, do I need to go to Living Brave Live? And I was like, no, but some part of you wants to. And like, that's enough. Like, that's it. And kind of exploring, like, where else in our life can we drop everything that we're doing for the sake of needing something, and go like full bore on, I'm only pursuing things I want, things that are delicious that kind of don't make any sense.
Yes. Yes. 100% yes. I have found, so the work that I do with folks, my clients, typically involves some level of like discontent in their lives. Not like they're unhappy in their lives, not that they're dealing with endless pain that they're trying to heal, but like they know that they can feel more happy, more joy, more fulfillment, more purpose, more confidence, more belief in themselves. And we always begin with the process of like, what brings you joy now? What brings you joy right now? So for example, like I was listening to your podcast today and I was thinking about, what we do our businesses for. Generally we're thinking we want to earn money and we want to serve, right? It's both. We want to have a profitable business. But what are we going to do with the profit? Yeah, exactly. But what are we doing with the profit? This is the question. I'm like, well, okay, if I had all the money in the world, I would do these things. Well, why do you need all the money in the world to feel the way that you would feel in those moments? Like you actually don't need all the money in the world to feel free the way you feel if you were traveling all over the world. People say, I want to make a whatever amount of money because then I could travel the world. I'm like, okay, cool. Where would you travel? And they tell me, I'm like, okay, what would you do there? Well, I would probably go and I would eat some cool food and I would look at neat architecture and I would go swimming in warm water. I'm like, well, why aren't you doing that now? Mm-hmm. You can do that now, right where you are. There's cool food, there's cool architecture, there's warm water right where you are now. So you don't have to wait until you've gotten this profitable business to actually have the things, the feelings, the experiences that you want right now. And the more you follow that right now, the joy that you can find right now, the more it's going to lead you to more joy and more curiosity, like this weird house thing that happened to me that I just wanted to. I don't know why I wanted to go. I didn't need to go, and it was definitely not logical. We do not have an extra whole house down payment kicking around somewhere. It would have required like us moving our entire lives and selling our whole house and everything to buy this new house. So it made no sense. And like, I just wanted to go and see it.
Yeah.
You know what? You just want what you want. You want the heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah, 100%. And it makes me think of earlier this year, I went to Paris and Egypt, and the Paris part was sort of last minute. I was feeling torn about whether or not to go on this Egypt trip. I'm going to go ahead and just apologize. It's starting to get very stormy, and I don't know if my mic is picking it up. So sorry, listeners, if you can hear that. But I was going back and forth on whether or not to take this trip. And then I had this hunch. I was like, I need to bake on something at the beginning where it's just me. I won't be with the group of friends I'm going to Egypt with, where they're all going to be kite surfing and I'll sort of just be sitting on the boat all day because I have ear problems. And so whatever spirit told me, or whatever medium through which it came, I was like, Paris. I have to go to Paris. Like, I just know. And within 24 hours, this is kind of a long story, but within 24 hours, I went to the thrift store here. It's like a very popular place that people go. I live in a tiny mountain town, so it's thrifting. Very random stuff. And I was looking for a binder clip for my travel watercolor set, just like something to hold the little set together.
Watercolor paint?
I love watercolor.
Another reason we're meant to love each other. I love watercolor.
Okay, we should have a watercolor date.
Yes, we should. Okay, sorry to interrupt your story.
That's okay. So the only clip, like a binder clip, we've seen these in schools and offices. The only clip they have is shaped like an Eiffel Tower. I've never seen one of these before in my life. So that I was like, what? I have to buy this. So I go over to the bathing suit section just to see if they have any like sarongs or whatever for the Egypt trip. And in the wallets, which were right next to the bathing suits, there was a travel wallet that said Egypt and then had the whole hieroglyphic alphabet. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to go on this trip. I'm supposed to go to Paris. I'm supposed to go to Egypt. Like, thank you, universe. I'm so guided. So I go to Paris. I have the most amazing 5 days with myself. It's so freeing. I feel more myself than I had in months. And I ended up having like maybe one of the most romantic nights of my life when I flew back through Paris after Egypt. And I was like, thank you, universe. But I came back to my tiny mountain town and
I was like, even before I had gone to Egypt, I was like, maybe I should live in Paris. Like, there are these really big
Ooh.
parts of myself that haven't been online in a while. I'm heavily considering this. And I've lived abroad a bunch, so it wasn't too crazy of an idea. And so I did very thorough research about what that would take. And then I sat with myself and I was like, okay, Kimberly, what is it about Paris that you think moving there would give you? What are the emotions that you felt that you can recreate here now? I was like, okay, being a part of a global community. I used to be a manager of an entrepreneurial community that was based all over the world. Being cultured, like having interests in hearing other languages. So from those realizations, I joined another person who's been on the podcast. I joined her women's entrepreneur group. I decided to launch a book publishing company so that I could have my hands in like other people's books and just have a wider pulse on the impact, authorship world. And I was like, you don't need to move. It's not about the move.
No, it's not.
And I couldn't have overthought that.
You can't. This is the thing I was just going to say. Like, what are people, when they listen to this podcast, going to walk away with other than some pretty incredible stories of women who clearly follow their intuition and reflect deeply? Yeah. And I was thinking, well, probably that we cannot underestimate the importance of connecting with ourselves deeply so that we can attune to our intuition, because business is not all thinking. It's not all brain. It's not all strategy. In fact, I would say that is the smaller part of what makes a business successful. And it's certainly the smallest part. Nobody ever says, oh my God, you're the most amazing coach in the world because your strategy fucking rocks.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says that. Nobody cares about my strategy. They tell me, about, how I make them feel in the storytelling that I share, or the fact that I'm unapologetic and how I show up inspires them to be unapologetic, or the fact that I share my joy inspires them to believe that they could have that much joy. They're not caring about my strategy. I mean, they're not, I guess maybe if I was a strategy coach, then maybe they would think my strategy was amazing, but that's not. But I wouldn't say that even the coaches that I choose to learn from who have amazing strategy, that's not why I love them. That's not the impact they make for me. So
totally. It's typically the vibes.
It's the vibe. And you have to be in your own vibe. And you cannot be in your own vibes and access your own intuition and your own magic if you're overthinking the shit out of yourself, Yeah. You just can't.
Yeah. When I had the idea for the Heart of Business retreat that I'm hosting in November, it was like a lightning bolt just hit me. Yeah. I offered it to a training call that I was facilitating, and just, would anyone be interested in this if I did this? 25 people dropped their email. And so I spent the next 24 hours creating the sales page, finding the venue, and not overthinking. Just being like, running with it. And within 7 days, 50% had sold out. And I was like, okay, this is clearly meant to be.
Yeah.
It's clearly meant to be.
That's
and
incredible.
It bolsters this idea that getting in the room and not even needing to know why you're in the room, but just trusting any part of you that wants to be in the room is so important and so trajectory shifting if you let it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on that note, I'm meant to lead a group of women to Japan next year.
I love Japan. Tell me more.
Well, I have had this dream of, I have multiple dreams, but one of them has been to go to Japan and learn the art of forest bathing in Japan. Because forest bathing, I'm a forest bathing guide. I guide forest baths here all the time. But it was originated in Japan. And so that was what got me intrigued. But then the more that I learn about Japan, the more I'm like, I must go there and must experience it. And it seems as though I'm not the only person who's been very deeply desiring, wanting, they don't need to go. They're all women who don't really want to go with their families. We just want to go together. Girls trip to Japan.
So this idea of trusting the call to lead women, especially, I think is like, I don't even know how to word this, but it feels really relevant right now. I have a client who we've been working together for a while. She has different offerings. They're going, you know, some more than others. And then on one call, I was like, no, but like, what do you really want? 5 years from now, if money wasn't an issue, what would the business look like? And she's like, I'm leading these retreats in Ireland and Scotland, and we're going to castles, and it's based on these fantasy books that I read. And I was like, let's lean into that. And within a couple days, she had 5 other entrepreneurs in her area, 5 other women, say, hey, we would also like to host a retreat. And she just hosted it this past weekend. And they it was on the equinox. There was like a sauna, and it was all at a campground, and they had Thai massage workshops and candles and branded sweatshirts. It was like a whole thing that came together in less than 2 months, simply because she claimed it.
Whoa, that's cool. It is incredible what happens when you start claiming things. And then it just, the universe just serves you up this buffet of everything you've ever wanted.
Yeah. Wait, Shannon, scoot this way a little. I can't see your gorgeous face.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. There you go. I was like, I'm only seeing one cheek, and I want both cheeks.
Both my cheeks.
Yeah. For those of you who are not watching on YouTube, this is your friendly reminder to go watch it on YouTube. You get to see how cozy Shannon's sweater is and her Canadian backdrop.
It's my nature backdrop. This is my office. I
love
my
it.
forest. Love it. Yeah.
I've only met one other person who guides forest bathing. That's so unique.
It's really fun. I love it. It's like the ultimate practice in tuning out of the mind and into your senses. That's the whole point, is to attune to the frequency of the forest. And in order to do that, you cannot be in your mind. And so it is like this quiet process, and you play. It's a lot of play. You know, you're following your curiosity. There are invitations to look at the forest in different ways, to notice things that you've never noticed. It's really fun. It's super fun.
I used to live in Bali with Christian, Shoshana's fiance, actually. Him and our friend John and I moved there together for a month to like mastermind. And one day we went to these famous rice paddies, and I was like underneath the leaves, and I'm every single flower. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, look at this flower. Oh my gosh, look at this flower. And I was just like bursting, really, because it was so beautiful. And I just couldn't contain myself. And Christian and Sean are like, is this what it's like to be you all the time? Like without psychedelics? And it didn't even occur to me, but yes, it is. Yeah. So I think I would really enjoy forest bathing, because I feel like that's the way I approach hikes in general, which is why I can't really hike with a lot of people. They're too fast.
I know. I'm like, slow down. I have to take a picture. Whoa, did you notice that root? Oh my gosh, did you see this mushroom? Wait, I can't talk to you because I'm listening to a bird right now.
Exactly. You get it.
Yeah, I get it.
So tell me about the Radiant Woman, because I know that's something that you've been putting out into the world lately. So I want to share it with our listeners.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. I'm aware, just to say, that my phone, I cannot plug my phone in while I have my earphones in. So I feel worried that my battery is going to die.
Oh, okay.
So
we'll be mindful.
I'm not overthinking. Yes, mindful and demure. Demure and mindful.
That's your new Instagram bio. Radiant woman, demure and mindful.
And mindful.
Underthinker. Right. Professional underthinker.
Professional underthinker. No, radiant women are not demure. And yes, they can be mindful, but we're a bunch of wild women. You know, the radiant woman is, so one of the things that was really interesting when I was in Denver was the number of people, I think everybody who met me said, you are such a bright light. You are the shiniest of shiny humans. You're so radiant. You're glowing. And I realized that in the context of creating, you know, some kind of movement, that this is what they mean when they say you are the niche. I am the radiant woman. And so I'm mostly helping people to experience life the way that I experience it. And that includes cultivating like unshakable self-trust and deep self-acceptance, you know, huge self-acceptance. This has been my journey for, I don't even know how many years, probably probably almost 7 years since I had a massive, massive, debilitating burnout. And the way that I healed from burnout was self-compassion, like massive amounts of it, like practiced, and I dove deep into that work. And joy, following my joy, and laughter. What was playful. Like, you cannot be burned out if you are igniting yourself with joy every day. So,
totally,
the Radiant Woman is a mixture of these elements, this deep self-compassion and unshakable self-belief, as well as play and rediscovering your joy, and a lot of wild woman energy, like, I don't give any hoots about what people think about us as radiant women. Like, if I want to dance in the streets because that's what feels good in my body, I'm going to do it. It's
love
about following what makes us feel good in our body. So this Radiant Woman group it's started already. We meet on Thursday evenings for what is going to be 3 full moon cycles. And so 12 weeks, three months. And it turns out that it's a group of women who are all also entrepreneurs, who have a deep desire to make impact with their work. It's impact first kind of work. They're just beautiful humans, and we're having really wonderful conversations about spirituality and like synchronicity, the way that the world moves through us when we are in flow, and just more of that. But a lot of what the work is of fully embodying the Radiant Woman is dropping the overthinking and the self-criticism and self-doubt that we've been indoctrinated with by society. Women have been indoctrinated by all the ways that we're supposed to look, and all the ways that we're supposed to behave, and all the things we're not supposed to do. And I'm done with that, because, if not now, when?
100%. And I mean, it just reinforces this idea that we teach what we most need to learn, and our mess is our message. And, like, you've been training to lead the Radiant Woman, and that's why you had to go through what you went through, right? And why you're the most perfect person for this job, and why you are the niche. It's just like, I wish that I could, like, feed this as a pill to all new coaches who come in so busy minded with what should I do? What's my niche? And I'm like, who are you? That's who you help.
Yeah.
Who were you? That's who you help.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of questions about, like, I hear this all the time. Am I qualified enough? Like, well, what qualifies you more than 35 years of your life, or 45 years of living and learning? Do you think that you have not absorbed anything in that time? You have absorbed a lot. And don't forget that the wisdom that you hold is way deeper than the wisdom that you're ever going to get from any book or course. Not to say that there isn't value in that training and all of the things, but there's a lot more wisdom in the world than just what we can see and feel with our minds. So much more.
Yeah, I love it. My first retreat ever was called Return to Radiance, and it was a witchy women's retreat. And then the last one that I hosted was the second one was called Glow and Flow, which was about, returning to your glow. And then the last one I hosted was called Nectar, which was all about following your pleasure and letting that cultivate that creative life force that we naturally have as women. So, speaking my language, love the Radiant Woman concept.
You are a Radiant Woman.
Nectar was very yummy.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, it sounds juicy, which is exactly what I think of when I think of nectar, like peach, like big, giant, ripe peaches. Yum.
Yes. Yeah. So my co-host, Asia, she was creating the assets for it and found these stock images online of women with, like, honey dripping off their wrists and stuff. And I turned to her, we were living in Puerto Rico at the time, and I turned to her and I said, what if we did this? What if we had our own photo shoot? Within 30 minutes, we had her ring light up in their bedroom. We had a thing of honey. We had her iPhone, and we were, like, pouring honey on ourselves and taking pictures. And now that one of those photos is the cover for my book that's coming out this fall.
Wow.
That I didn't pick. The community picked. I actually was hoping they would pick a different one, but that was the one that people loved. So. Oh my gosh, I'm so in love with that conversation. However, you probably noticed we had a technical snafu at the end. And so what that means, I always see everything as an opportunity, as a gift, as a blessing in disguise. What that means is that we're actually going to have a part 2. That's right, I'm going to bring Shannon back because I feel like there is so much more wisdom inside of her mind, inside of her heart, that she can offer to new and aspiring coaches to really articulate how it is that she's been able to create success as an impact-driven, heart-centered entrepreneur. So I'm really excited. We've never done this before. We've never had a part 2 conversation, and I can't imagine a better person to do it with. So if you like today's episode, please do me a favor. Go follow Shannon. We'll have everything linked up at theprofitablecoach.com/058. Shoot me a message over on Instagram at @thekimberlyrich. We love hearing from you. So if you haven't already connected with me over there, please do so. I want to know what you loved about today's show. So with that, I'm sending you the biggest hugs, and we'll catch you on part 2.